Let us rewind time a little. Sae, borrowing the strength of Sauka and her subordinates, as well as Moss and others suited for intelligence gathering, had grasped the situation in every corner of the battlefield. That information was compiled and delivered to Benimer. Based on that, accurate analysis and judgments were made, and appropriate instructions were flown out to various locations. Through this, the path to victory had been established. However, that was overturned by the harassment carried out by Veldanava. Jahal, Cornu, and Vega, these three were summoned by Veldanava. By inhabiting the bodies of Swim, Habitaki, and Kakishi, who were supposed to have been defeated, a threat exceeding even the true dragons was born. What will you do? We have no choice but to pull the main forces and have them deal with it. If push comes to shove, I'll go out myself. Understood. In that case, I'll help too. Sae and Benimer finished their meeting quite simply. Afterwards, the military forces were reallocated according to Benimer's instructions. A flow was created where main warriors were pulled from every front to counter these three evil gods. Although some were placed in a difficult situation because of this, no complaints were raised by anyone. Rather, they got motivated, and the battlefield became even more enveloped in enthusiasm. In fact, on the battlefield, constant recovery magic was active thanks to Misery and Rain, who had inherited the secret art of Sanctuary from Luminous. Therefore, the situation was extremely stable. The holy field was also still intact. The army of cryptids that had been descending from the heaven-piercing tower one after another had also been annihilated after getting caught up in the battle between Iverge and Gnome. Therefore, an operation to sweep up the remaining cryptid forces is currently being executed. On the ground, the situation was one where victory was right before their eyes. That said, if they let their guard down, the war situation could be overturned in an instant. The reason is that even the weakest cryptid individual possesses combat capabilities comparable to a Demon Lord seed, making them a threat with an overwhelming power gap for the heroes gathered in this land. The reality was that they were barely succeeding in defeating them individually, thanks to the holy field and tactical coordination. Even so, since they are managing somehow, Benimer's judgment has been proven correct. We'll risk our lives and hold out too, so you guys better win. Ha, don't give me that pretty talk. If you don't make it back alive, your wife will be furious. This was a conversation between Calgurio and Minute, who had become the de facto superiors on the Eastern Front. Since seeing off Emperor Masayuki to battle, they had been trading light banter while commanding the soldiers. They were trying to lift spirits and distract from their anxiety. On the Southern Front, there is Hakuru. Demon rulers like Varen, Zonda, Khan, and Misora are also going strong. Victory to the heroes. Queen Jern of Farminas, also known as Mylan, prayed, and the holy field increased its radiance. Watched over by that radiance, the heroes led by Yaum were also exerting every ounce of their strength. On the Western Front, Sar, Gregory, and Glenda are the commanders. You kidding, right? I wish they wouldn't push such a major role onto a traitor like me in a situation like this. Don't say that, Sar. If you fire yourself up and perform well here, God might recognize you again, right? Well, true. This land is filled with Lady Luminous's love, so running away isn't an option. Yeah, exactly. We just have to empty our minds, pray to God, and slaughter the enemy. Unlike those two simpletons, Glenda is realistic. You idiots. If you die, it's over. Before that, deserting in the face of the enemy is something that won't be forgiven even if you die. Actually, what fills the air now isn't Luminous's love. It is the encouraging or rather, threatening message from the demons. Work without slacking off. But Glenda wasn't boorish enough to say that out loud. Furthermore, this battlefield is under Sae's surveillance. Running or not running isn't even a choice. If that's the case, well, I'll let them dream a little. Thinking this, Glenda showed a kindness unlike her. On the northern front, Adalman and Gadra were struggling valiantly. Thanks to that, they are extremely dominant. There are some cryptids resistant to magic, but they are exterminating them without a care. Shall we wrap this up quickly at this pace? Indeed. We must hurry to help the other fronts. Through their efforts in this land, their superiority was nearly confirmed, but then, time stopped. Jahal had been defeated by Yuuki, but the unending pain of death suddenly vanished. By some means, his soul was called back to the living world and inhabited Swim's corpse. Similarly, Cornu inhabited Habitaki, and Vega fused with Kakishi. Jahal remembers the fear of death. Therefore, his thirst for life is never satisfied. That eternal pain filled with despair had vanished completely. In that case, what he recalls is his grudge against Yuki. He had been completely annihilated, down to his soul, by the lost entropy Yuki unleashed. Yet for some reason, he retained all his memories and hatred. I won't forgive you. I will never forgive you, Yuki. Jahal screamed. It was also an act to rouse his own heart, as if escaping the terror of death. Standing before such a Jahal were warriors with a connection to him. Looks like I've been nominated, huh? Smiling wryly, Yuki stands before Jahal. Naturally, behind Yuki, Lapis, Kaguli, Tyr, and even Mai were waiting as support staff. There are others familiar with Jahal. Good grief, are we repeating that again? Oh my. If Leon-kun takes care of him alone, we won't have to do anything reckless. True, I completely agree that I'm bored of this, so if you want to show your manliness here. I refuse. While being teased by Omija and Sylvia, Leon is also prepared to fight Jahal to the end. Participating here will ultima and career. Honestly, just me alone might be enough. That's my line, isn't it? You just stay quiet in the corner so you don't drag me down. What did you say? Ha, you want to go. As always, they get along well. As if Jahal wasn't even in their eyes, Ultima and Carrera bared their hostility toward each other in glare. Seeing the two, the others hold their heads in their hands, but also harbor hope. Cornu couldn't even understand why he had died. His last memory was despairing agony and approaching flames. Only after reviving like this did he realize that it had been Valgrind's attack. Don't screw with me. Don't screw with me, Valgrind. Cornu roared. That unbridled angry voice generated shockwaves by itself. It was powerful enough that if a Demon Lord Seed-class monster were bathed in it, not even dust would remain. But, however, it was sliced away easily by a single sword. You're noisy. Woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Well, whatever. I'll kill you. Don't you go calling my beloved Grind by her name without honorifics. The one who declared this was Rudra, holding Diva. Rudra intended to take on Jahal, but now things are different. He is holding Valgrind's waist and wearing a fearless smile. Incidentally, Masayuki's consciousness is still alive within Rudra. Ah, I bet I'm going to be bedridden with soul pain or whatever again. But well, it's better than dying thinking such things, Masayuki cheered for himself. It wasn't just Rudra and his group standing before Cornu. Carrion, Midray, and Free are watching. Old friends Lario and Iber, and even Feldway were there. Since Feldway is there, naturally Diablo is there too. For the old Cornu, this would be excessive war potential. However, now, he has changed like a different person from before. The outcome of the battle was still unknown. Vega, who inhabited Kakishi, had transformed even more than Jahala Cornu. Loneliness. And terror. In a space with no one and nothing, Vega understood those things in the true sense. Being alive now is a miracle. His unextinguished ego remembered the memories of the distant future where he was destroyed. Did I make it back? Ha ha ha. I did it. God didn't abandon me. Surging joy fills Vega. Mocking Vega as she looks at him is the beautiful white queen, Testarossa. Oh my, I heard you were completely annihilated by Diablo and the others, but you were stubbornly alive, weren't you? Testarossa said, looking down as if appraising him. Standing next to Testarossa, Hinata spoke coldly. Persistent men are hated, you know. In the royal capital of Ingrassia, Vega had escaped them. With expressions saying they wouldn't let him escape this time, the two beauties fired themselves up. Lining up with these two was Shion. I will punish such an obstinate fellow. My body has warmed up and I'm in good form. It seems I can finally fight at full power. Shuddering at this were Gopta and Ranga. Shion-san has been rampaging until just now, right? Gopta, that recognition is not wrong in my memories either. Shion Dono was certainly unparalleled. Right. Yumu. Kabira joins this conversation, nodding gravely. That is correct. I cannot believe Shion Dono was unsatisfied, but if it's Shion, it seems possible, Kabira thought. Gopta and Ranga felt the same, holding a sense of awe towards Shion. Here, those who were unmoved stepped forward. Fushu. No problem. We simply defeat the enemy. That is right. We shall show our majesty. With these statements from Geld and Kumara as the signal, the battle with Vega also began. The three who had achieved resurrection, Jahal, Cornu, and Vega were each engaged in three very different battles. Jahal, who had been fixated on Yuki as the cause of his death, quickly changed his target early on. Or rather, because Ultima and Carrera had launched such a fierce assault, he could simply no longer ignore them. Ha, you're pretty good, aren't you? Entertain me more, much more. Whether they were given slime cells by Rimuru, or had forced him to hand them over by begging, Ultima and Carrera had acquired new power. Their bodies, which they were already accustomed to, had settled into something even more perfect. They now possessed bodies that would not break even when exercising their true power. No matter how immense the magic power, it placed no burden on these new bodies. Furthermore, they possessed high resistance and affinity even towards the extremely dangerous nihility. They could use forbidden arts and spells without limit and without risk. There is no way the current us can lose, that was the shared consensus between the two. It looks like there's no turn for me. It doesn't look like I'll get a chance to shine either. For this specific instance, it is a happy miscalculation, but putting that aside, there is anxiety for the future. Indeed. Just like Yuki's group, Leon, Omija, and the others did not necessarily want to push themselves to fight. Even if injuries heal, fatigue remains, so they wanted to rest if possible. What made them anxious was the absurd strengthening of the two primordials. It seemed they would become increasingly difficult to control in the future. That meant Rimuru's faction had been strengthened to a ridiculous degree. The balance between nations is already on the verge of collapse, but the post-war problems are going to be a headache. Amicia held her head in her hands thinking this. Still, she was fortunate in the sense that she had the leeway to think about the future at all. Though she thought it would be a struggle, Omicia's expression had brightened. As for Kigali, she held a grudge deep in her bones against Chahal. There was not just a grudge, but hatred. There was, but honestly speaking, the difference in ability is too large. Nothing I do seems like it would work. That was her honest feeling. The current Chahal had a magical energy volume equal to or exceeding a true dragon, and on top of that, he possessed terrifying regenerative abilities and extremely potent means of destruction. From Kigali's perspective, he had reached the realm of God. Rational judgment outweighed emotion, telling her she should not force her hand. Besides, Ultima and Carrera were simply too overwhelming. Were they on bad terms, or were they getting along? While complaining to each other as if bickering, their coordination was, in a word, magnificent. Their movements are so-so. If they were to show an unsightly battle after receiving Rimuru Sama's power, I intended to purge them with my own hands, but I suppose this is acceptable. Diablo, who was standing there before anyone noticed, assessed their fighting style. He was looking down from such a height that it was more refreshing than appalling.